then I think we should begin. And I want to begin with today what I'm going to do is going to be the first of a series of 4 immersive seminars on 4 of these sessions. We are kind of taking over for this subject, which is awareness-based collective action. And while some of you may have attended a seminar or so before, it was just an introductory thing. What we want to do is we want to see how we can execute, how we can take actions, and how we can work inside of ABCA. And so this is the kickoff. It's really a kind of a prototype to see how do we work this on. I've looked all over the internet. I've looked at Otto's stuff, and I don't see anything that he's created that would have supported us. So this is what we're making up ourselves, okay? In line with how he has distinguished awareness-based collective action. But before we go to that subject, I have another really exciting announcement to make. SK and myself sat down yesterday and we worked out a design for supporting people who want to. One of the things we found is that when people do the program, do the LFEF, they get a whole lot of stuff. But if they are able to share it to someone else, explain it to someone else, make someone else understand what they got, it deepens for them. It becomes more powerful for them. So those of you who participate in the Landmark Forum, we used to say no sharing equals no forum. We're not saying that here, but we're saying that sharing deepens your grasp of the principles and the tools of leading from the emerging future, Theory U, and it'll make it more profound and more solid for you. And to support you in that, we know that there are people who want to share LFEF with their family and friends, and they want their family and friends to do it. And so we have put this program together to support you in being able to do that. It's going to be free. And we're starting out with having 12 sessions, 3 months, 12 sessions once a week for 1.5 hours. So it's like for those of you who have done other programs with Landmark, there's the ILP, and the ILP lasts over 6 months and it trains people to lead introductions. We're not going to be training you at the moment to lead introduction. We're just going to work with you and develop and train you to be able to understand what you got, to be able to articulate it clearly, and to be able to share it with others, and to see how effective you are at that, how effective you are at communicating and sharing it with people. And so we've got initially 10 slots available, right? And really, we would like, because it's a prototype, we would like whoever starts to continue and finish. And so, so it's first come, first serve basis. And so whoever wants to actually participate in it, the timings will be on Mondays from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Indian time. And if you're requesting to be one of the 10, just send us a WhatsApp message and say, I don't know, what should we have as the heading? Training to share. Put training to share if you want, right? Training to share. And say I am interested in participating in the program. And the first 10 people we get, we'll send you information saying, yes, you're on. And Chaitanya, do you have access to the alumni WhatsApp?
People can send it to me otherwise. Already some people have sent me.
Okay. So send it to Manoj, okay? Okay. So just, Basava, you want to ask something, right? Yeah, hang on a minute. I had you in mind as one of the people of those 10, but you have to act fast. Tell me, what is the question you have?
Yeah.
Baswa? I think Basava's lost his video. You back?
No, I am interested to join. That is what I wanted to say. That's
Oh,
all.
you wanted to say that. You'll have to send it in a WhatsApp message. Okay.
Yeah,
There's to
yeah,
be
yeah,
some-
yeah. I'll do it.
Okay, great. So if you raise your hand just now, by the way,
Just a second. Sorry for
sure,
that.
sure.
I didn't completely get that. Is it a training for sharing this LFEF or what it is?
Yes,
I didn't
training for
get what.
sharing the LFEF. And I wouldn't recommend it for people who just complete the LFEF because you need some, you haven't really finished it. You got the other 6 sessions.
Yeah.
So you don't
Yes.
fully know what you got. But this is more for the people who have done
Sure,
previous
sure.
sessions and would like to do it. And you'll find out more as we go along,
Okay.
but that's what it's about. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Now, if you are interested, and I'm not saying committed, just interested. So interesting. Man. Just raise your hand so I can see how many people are interested. Minal, you just did the program, so you're going to hang on for a minute. Okay. I mean, for a little while. We'll take you in the next batch. Jaishri, did you say yes? Jaishri and
Yes, I said,
Upama? Okay. And okay, great. So do let us know. Okay, there are people who are interested. Do let us know. Basava, you're going to have to send a WhatsApp message to Manoj. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
first. That's the
I'll do
first
that.
thing.
I'll do that.
Any questions about that? Because I want to move on to the next subject. No? Okay. So let's move on to the next subject, which is awareness-based collective action. So there's going to be no slides now, okay? So there's an Indian professor of medicine, surgeon, who did I watched his video. It was an hour and 45 minutes or something. And he had put it all together just as he finished surgery and came to meet all his students. And he said, I got no slides. I'll put it on afterwards. But right now, let's go without slides. And it was remarkable. It really worked really well because his points were very clear. And I think we're not going to have any slides right now. We are going to have a conversation, okay? So the thing is, awareness-based collective action, okay? Awareness-based collective. Let's get an understanding of what do you think it is? And don't worry, whatever you think it is, it's a valid thing to think. We just want to get a common understanding of what it is amongst all of us, so then we can go to work on it. So what do you think awareness-based collective action is? And for those of you who are newbies, just hang on for a minute because you haven't heard of this before. So it might be, just listen to what the other people have to say first, okay? Okay, what do you think awareness-based collective action is? This is not a test, this is a creation.
Mhm.
I would like to tell my understanding.
Yeah, good.
And I will share it by giving an example.
Yeah,
Like in case we have any big occasion like any marriage or any bad situation in our home, anyone is critical or something like that has happened. So everyone is taking actions without discussing with a common goal, and all are moving in the same direction.
very good. Very good.
And
And
there is no like coordination is not happening by communicating, it's happening automatically.
very good. And there's nobody telling people what to do, and they're all
Yes,
not doing the same thing.
right,
Everybody is doing something different, but it is coordinated. Right, Sanjay?
right.
Right. Okay, good. Somebody else. What is,
Baswa here. Baswa.
yeah, Barsava. Awareness-based
All
collective
the
action.
all the areas of life throughout the world, not only in India, have failed, and they were not able to deliver the goods, whether MNCs, governments, or any big organizations like that. So now Superman, that is common man like us, take this situation and do whatever whatever we can to address that situation, This corona is a very good example. People themselves took initiation and distributed food, medicine, oxygen, and whatever needed at that time. That is how this collective action that is based on awareness.
Right.
Without awareness, we cannot go to collective action. Only
Okay.
collective action can solve the big issues. That is
Okay.
what I mean by awareness-based collective actions.
Yeah, there's a lot of gold in what you're saying. It's not all 100% gold, but a lot of gold in what you're saying. We're not going to mine it right now. Let's leave it where it is. I want to hear people's views. Okay. Great. Somebody else, what do you think it is?
Ferdi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the way we as humanity are, we are in a state of tranquilized, obvious, behavior. Like, we are
Yeah.
all going about and not aware about what we're doing. So
Yeah.
awareness-based collective action is like getting in there and consciously and deliberately and willfully and awarefully getting connected to, at the source of what creates whatever you want to create. What creates really is when you move from the ego to the eco and you work as one, and you suspend your downloading and all that, and then what you want to create becomes a natural phenomena. So it is moving from the tranquilized state to an awareful conduct of self without the ego coming in the way. It might come in the way, but you are awareful and then you're moving forward. And I can see that people are taken along, and the something pulls for it. It's not that you have to do anything. Whatever is the biggest outcome, you create that naturally.
Right.
So like Basava said, we just created. I mean, so much help came, and God knows how people opened their purse strings. People, gave up what they would have enjoyed. And nobody thought I'm also going to lose my job, and what about me? People just started giving. So that is like
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Right.
yeah.
Great. Great, Jashi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody else?
Can I say something?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so most of the time what happens is that we all are engaged in some action or the other, and we do not recognize the impact what it creates in the world. Now, awareness-based collective action is about considering considering other points of views to which we possibly ignore in the process of creating a particular outcome. So while we are on the process of creating, or while we are up to creating some outcome or some results for ourselves or for people, awareness-based collective action would be calling for looking at all the possible spaces which we could impact, and then being aware of the holistic framework, we could tune our actions.
Okay. Very good, Om. Thank you. So now here's what I think it'll go faster. If you put in the chat, what do you think awareness-based collective action is? Just type it out in the chat. In the meanwhile, somebody can start sharing as well, but put it in the chat. What do you think awareness-based collective action is?
To me, awareness-based collective action is we all have operated in our best capacities as an individual, but it's about time. The issues around us or in the world are kind of multiplying at a bigger level, and to tackle that, we all have to come together and then create our actions together, like
Okay.
take actions together versus operate as individuals.
Very good. Great. Thank you, Vaishali. So remember to put it in the chat. What do you think awareness-based collective action is? Okay. And you can speak it up as well. Vipin, unless you want to speak, can you mute yourself? I think you got noise in your line. Okay, now you're muted. All right, somebody else, anybody else? Awareness-based collective action, what do you think it is?
Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
my understanding of awareness is like, we always, in our life live like zombies, almost like half dead. We don't know what we are doing, why we are doing. We don't have any intention, just getting reacted to the situation by the situation, and then react in a way, unaware way, like an unconscious way, which is not giving any result. So creating awareness is to know the true common goal or the intention of in the current situation, and act based on that, so that
Okay.
the common goal is achieved.
Okay, very good. Now, everybody, whatever you said and whatever people said, just erase it. Consider that none of that is awareness-based collective action. I think Sanjay said something that made sense, but even you erase it for a moment, Sanjay. Let's start from scratch, okay? Let's take the words. So first word is what? ABCA.
Awareness.
A stands for what?
Awareness.
Awareness.
Awareness, right? So it's so definitely awareness is involved in it. Second word, B, is what?
Based.
Based. So something which is based on awareness, awareness based, okay? And C is
Collective.
collective. Collective is, you understand what a collective is, right? A group of people, everybody collectively acting together. And A stands for action, okay? So awareness based collective action. So as some of you have said, some of the newbies have actually said it too, is that we act like zombies. We do not act with any awareness. It's not based on awareness. So the first thing is, as an individual, becoming mindful. That is the way to get awareness, to be mindful, right? But then as a group, what is awareness as a group? What brings awareness in a group of people?
Sensing.
Sensing. Veena, and you got to change your name if you don't want to be called Naga Veena.
Yeah, sure.
So sensing,
Company,
okay. Somebody else. What is it? Yes.
Getting information.
Good. Getting information. But remember, as a group, right? Remember, as a group, not as an individual. So now stop thinking as an individual. As a group, as an individual, how does one become aware? Is by being mindful. As a group, how does a group become aware? Because the group needs to be aware of itself and the world as a group. So how does a group, what is the access for the group? Like
Communication.
Mindfulness is an access for an individual. What is the access for a collective or a group of people?
Communication. Communicating with each other.
But communication is such a vast subject. So somebody's talking on the radio, the prime minister is giving a broadcast on the radio, you can call that communication. But that's not going to give anything useful to us, right? So that's not what we mean. So you got to get more forensic than just broad communication. What kind of communication?
Allowing people to voice around a particular context.
Okay.
Connectivity.
Think deeper. Yes, Jayashree?
Connectivity. So giving up anything like separate.
Well, it will involve some connectivity, but from the tools, from the toolkit of the LFEF, the program you did, what tool would be useful for generating awareness in a collective?
Listening, I think.
Empathy walk.
Empathy walk.
Getting connected to the source. Getting connected to the source.
It will have to have something to do with the collective. Remember,
It can't have inside from within. When we feel or sense the situation and when we want some solution for that situation, that time the mindfulness comes.
Yeah, but now I'm talking about as a collective, as a group, as a community, as a society, right? What what what
Yeah.
will be like mindfulness for a society? What will that tool be?
Open will.
Open will is still,
Or
Vaishali, is still
some raised voice on it.
individual based. Pina, hang on a minute. It's still individual based.
Generative dialogue?
Yeah, not bad. But before generative dialogue, what do you have?
Do we do redirecting, our attention?
What do you,
as a-
let's go with what Minal said. So
Right.
she said generative dialogue, right? But before generative dialogue, that generative dialogue is a fallout of something. What comes before generative dialogue?
There has to be a
Ferdi,
common goal or an experience which is shared.
No, not a goal, not a goal, not an experience. What has to be there?
well,
Look at the four
Ferdi,
fields of listening. The first field of listening is
There has to be an understanding of the other.
Stay in the conversation, Smita. What's
Yeah.
the first field of conversation? What's the first field of conversation?
Downloading.
Download, which is really nobody's listening, right? And nobody's speaking as well. What's the second field?
Suspending.
So quickly the thing vanishes away. The first field is where everybody is not saying what they feel, what believe in, or not. What's the second field?
Suspending.
Debate,
Suspending.
which is where everybody is talking and
Nobody is listening.
nobody is listening. So the first field is nobody is talking and nobody is listening. Second field is everybody is talking and nobody is listening. Okay, what's the third field?
Dialogue.
Dialogue. What is, how do you, or what is the characteristic of dialogue? What does dialogue involve?
Open,
reflective dialogue,
creative conversation.
Oneself from the whole. No?
Well, dialogue involves, see, in the first one, there is no speaking, no listening. In the second one, there is speaking, but no listening. Everybody's speaking, nobody's listening. What's dialogue? What do you think dialogue has?
Speaking and listening.
Both listening, yes.
Yes, speaking and listening.
And
So
listening, yes.
people are in a dialogue, people are listening. Who are they listening to?
The possibilities.
No, they're not listening to the radio, are they? Who are they listening to?
Each other.
Listening to own mind.
No, to your own mind. is
Other
not
human
dialogue.
being.
Sorry?
Other human being.
Yeah, they're listening to the other people in the group, right? We're talking about a group here.
Yeah.
We're listening to the other people in the group. And the other people in the group are doing what?
Same thing, listening to other people.
Listening to them and other people in the group. So that's mindfulness for a group. If you're going to do a practice of mindfulness in a group, that's what needs to happen. The group needs to listen to the group. And the way to listen to the group, you listen to people and get their ideas, and you have your own ideas and you put your ideas in. So dialogue. So the skill that you will have to develop if you want to have awareness as a group is, fill in the blanks now. This is a test question to see whether you understood.
Speaking and listening to the other human being and ourselves.
Dialogue. By the way, funny thing, is I'm a strange person. What I say is pretty simple, not complicated. So don't try to go to a complicated place to answer the question. It's like, what is the color of Shivaji's white horse?
White.
White. Not complicated. So why, right? So just now we were talking about dialogue. We spent all this time talking about dialogue, right? And we said that dialogue is like mindfulness for a group. So what is the question I asked now? I've even forgotten what the question was that I asked you. It was an important question, but I've forgotten. Anybody remembers what I was asking you?
It
Yeah,
was
it's
how we can bring mindfulness in a group.
Yeah, how you bring mindfulness in a group is you develop dialogue. What the dialogue will do is it'll get people, it'll get the community to you turn the camera around to itself and turn the camera out to the world. And so you start to see as a community. So the awareness is not the awareness of the individual alone. It is the awareness of the whole collective. I'm not using the word community because there's a way people understand community. Let's use the word collective, but collective doesn't mean communist collective, okay? We're talking about a collective, like a collection of people who are somehow or the other working together, right? So what needs to be present is dialogue. So what's the first skill that we need to develop in our collective if we want to do awareness-based collective action?
Listening.
listening.
Why do you all get complicated? We're just talking about the subject.
Dialogue.
What is the subject? Dialogue. Why we went to listening? I told you Shivaji's white horse is white. I'm repeating the same thing again so it goes in, because right now it tells me it hasn't gone in. It's gone into it and become khichdi. What we need to develop is a competency, but we need to develop this competency not as individuals, but as a collective. We need to develop the competency of dialogue. Now, as an individual, we have an access to supporting dialogue in any community we're a part of. And what is that access? What is our pathway? How can we help any community that we're a part of to create dialogue? How can we do that?
By
It's not
listening.
complicated. Just think about the most simplest answer. How
By
can we do
listening.
Being aware of that.
By
that?
listening.
By generating dialogue.
Oh.
See, you can't generate dialogue by just listening.
Okay, yeah.
You're sitting in a group of people and you're generating, you say, okay, what needs to happen is dialogue. And you just sit and listen. Will dialogue happen?
No.
No. So you have to engage. And you have to engage dialogically in a dialogue. You have to engage in a dialogue. Now, the tendency is that people don't deal with dialogue. What do they deal with? Really, the simplest answer, don't get a complicated answer. What do people
Monologue.
deal with? Huh?
Monologue.
Monologue, but more
Their own
opinions.
opinions.
Opinions and judgments, their own opinions, their own judgments. That's what people deal with. They traffic in. So now if you're part of a group, right, how will you generate dialogue in that group?
Asking question.
Okay, asking question, good.
Listening.
Can you give me an example of asking question?
Like maybe in the group, what exactly they want actually, like what they want to bring forth to
Not
that
as a
path,
group,
whatever they want to
not
create.
as a group, because the group hasn't formed yet. The
Yeah,
group
one to
has,
one. Yeah.
no. In the group,
Yeah.
when
So
somebody, hold on, when somebody expresses an opinion, right? You said question, right? Ask
yes.
questions.
Yeah.
When somebody expresses an opinion, what can you do?
Ask like, what can you tell more about that? Whatever they are
Yeah.
asking.
Oh, what do you mean by that? Please explain further. I am interested in what you mean. Can you tell me further?
Yeah.
And allow them to speak. Now,
Yeah.
once they speak, you will get an idea of what they want. Now, do you have some ideas yourself
Yes,
as
of course.
well?
Yes, yes.
So you think that you could then put your idea across
Yes.
somehow or the other without invalidating their idea or connected to their idea?
Yes.
What will that create?
Dialogue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not complicated, but it is a focus on mindfulness for a collective. Like you are training yourself in awareness. You're doing that by focusing on mindfulness as an individual. Now, in a group, and you're a part of the group, you can support the mindfulness of the collective or the group by generating dialogue. And as you said, one of the best ways to generate a dialogue is questions, but questions coming from where? Curiosity.
Yeah.
Coming from your curiosity, you're interested in knowing. You're trying to find out more, right?
Yeah. True.
So awareness based, right? Awareness based. So I just want to talk about it a little bit more before I go to collective and action. So let's look at, and what are you getting about this awareness based and the collective? What are you getting about it so far? And I'm asking the oldies, okay? Not the newbies. Newbies are right in there sharing away. Good for you guys. But let's get some of these old fuddy-duddies to say something. Or have I insulted you, so now you're not going to say anything?
Yeah, Ferdi, I think first thing for me is the willingness to actually have a dialogue.
Right.
It starts with that.
Right.
If the willingness itself is not there, then you can't actually have an ABCA conversation.
And a willingness on whose part? Who do you have control over?
I mean, you yourself, yeah.
Only you. You have control over only you.
Yes.
And yet there has to be a willingness to have a dialogue in the collective. Right?
Yes.
But you have control only over you. And there needs to be a willingness to have a dialogue in the collective. Can you say that back to me and tell me what you're getting from it?
You need to have a willingness to have a dialogue as a collective, and the power is with yourself as a self to actually make that happen.
Well, that's a little bit too far. You've gone a little bit too far. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Because you may be able to do it, you may not be able to do it. Who knows? But what did I say? Anybody remembers what I said? See, I took the statement you made, Chaitanya. And the statement you made was, there needs to be
a willingness to have a dialogue.
A willingness to have a dialogue, right? And then what I did was, I threw some light on that. In case you were thinking, and I think you were thinking individually, then I threw the light on, it needs to be in the collective. The collective needs to have a willingness to have a dialogue, or there will not be a dialogue, right? And yet you have control, power. I think I haven't found the right word. You have access, a powerful access only to you. You don't have a powerful access to them.
Yeah.
And yet what needs to be generated is a dialogue.
So what I'm getting it is, I am at the source of it, but the willingness to have a dialogue has to come as a collective.
Yeah. Can you use another word other than source? Because that's that has connotations from the past and we get lost in it. So
Okay.
use another word.
I can use the word responsible. I'm responsible to have a dialogue, but it has to be a willingness as a collective.
Yeah, you're not responsible to have a dialogue. I said you have power only over yourself. You have influence only over yourself to start with. Later on, you get influence over others. To start with, you have influence only over, you definitely have influence over yourself, right? And if you want to start, and there needs to be a dialogue in the collective for this to work, and you have influence on a powerful influence over yourself. So you start with yourself. And you start with yourself by being willing to have a dialogue. But if you stop there, dialogue will not happen. Right? You need to go a little further than that. That's where the leadership aspect comes in. But I don't even want to taint it with that right now. I just want to leave it as an individual. You say, am I willing to have a dialogue? Am I willing to give up my fixed point of view and listen to other people? Okay, I'm going to do that. And you listen to what somebody says. If you're willing to listen to what they say, then you would be asking them some questions about what they say, would you not?
Yes.
Curious question. Because if they say something and you know what they mean, you're in trouble immediately because maybe they don't mean what you think they mean. So in order to have a dialogue, you would need to somehow or the other engender or get from them, what do they mean by that? And see how that eliminates something for you about whatever your commitment is. By the way, I need to shut my door because I'm getting music coming in. This is being recorded, right, Manoj?
Yes, yes, Ferdi.
Yeah, because this is I didn't know what I was going to do in this thing, but I knew what my intention was. And this is really powerful stuff. It
Can I
gives us,
just put in a word?
Please. Yeah.
As you were asking Chaitanya, what's the other word for source? Right? In this context, I thought an appropriate word could be intention. I have an intention for something.
Very good. Yes.
Because in my interpretation, that's where the game begins. You have an intention. That's the beginning of the game.
Yeah, very good.
And then you can create whatever you create with the people that you co-create with.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. And now I want you and everybody else to put that on hold, because where I was going in this conversation was we need to get dialogue in the collective. The collective needs to want to have a dialogue. The collective needs to want to be ready to have a dialogue. So what we're focused on is what are the ways and means to get dialogue going in a collective? And as some very smart person said, who was it? Was it you, Veena, or someone else? It's by asking questions, right? By asking questions.
Yeah, it's Veena, I said.
Veena, yeah. Asking questions, but from a very curiosity point of view, because you want to know more, not because you just want to know more. Oh, what I really am interested. What do you see? I've always been kind of stuck a bit with the binary conversations that happen. You know, binary is either this, you're for me or against me. It's this or that. And it happens in many different ways. And I've been stuck in quite a few binary conversations, political in the UK, Tory, anti-Tory, Trump, anti-Trump, and especially since for me, the most important thing is India itself. And in India, I've been stuck in, I can see everything is binary and I've been stuck in binary conversations. And one of the things that I realized, what if somebody has an opinion different from me, somehow or the other, they become not part of my team. They become outside of me. And I don't feel close to them. Now, in this last program, we had, what was his name? The gynecologist, Manoj?
Himanshu Dave.
Himanshu, yeah. I know Himanshu from many years back, and I have a great regard for him, and he has a great regard for me. And when he talked about his brother,
RSS
and his brother is a Gandhian, and he is an RSS guy, or believes more in that. Some of the other, I got an opening that I didn't have before. And I'm talking about me personally. I got an opening that I didn't have before because I feel close to Himanshu. So I can talk to him and be curious and say to him, Himanshu, tell me something about what you think about RSS and and why the Gandhian policies. And then I can listen to him. I've got a very good friend of mine who is a staunch RSS guy in Goa. And I like the fellow a lot, but every time he started talking about RSS and this, and not RSS, but the BJP and this, it just turned me off and I could not have a further conversation with him. But here's the thing, we need to have dialogue. We need to engender dialogue. And the way to engender dialogue is to consider that there is something we could learn from the other perspective. That would further our own intention and support our intention. And so that allows us to listen with openness and compassion and connectedness to other people and be able to hear what they have to say rather than immediately put the walls up. So dialogue needs to be there. And I think it needs to be there on a very, I realize I have digressed. I'm sorry, because we were looking at awareness-based collective action, but this thing was so in our faces today that it's really, look at it.
I felt it really made such a big difference. I mean, I saw all those blockages, personal, the social, everything, it kind of crumbled in the conversation that you just had. I became so aware that so much of judgment. Yeah. I got freedom just now. Yeah.
And I want you to keep in the space two things, the personal and the collective, because what's happening is this is opening up because the collective is in the conversation, not just the personal, not just the individual. And so that's good. That's good. Yeah, Manoj.
Sometimes I think you said in this weekend, that like sometimes being aware of not being aware is a good starting point. I know you didn't say the exact words, but somewhere you said that. And what I see right now is, as a collective, awareness of this whole binary conversational space in the society. Of course, in our families also, but like everywhere, right? The awareness of that could be the beginning of the awareness, like the awareness of the unawareness.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and it could be, and the brilliance of it is, it could be on a social level, not just individual, personal level. It can be on a very social, societal level. Good. Now, why don't, Manoj, can you just take some sharing from people, really just sharing on what they're getting? It doesn't matter what they're getting. I need to use the loo. I'll be back in a few minutes, okay?
Sure, yeah. Okay, guys, the floor is open. What are you getting? Go ahead and share.
Yeah.
Unmute yourself and go. Yeah, Shiva, go ahead.
What I'm getting aware is, awareness is so crucial in life as human beings, and we are not even aware of that there is something called awareness that can take us to collective action, which is not happening because we are all stuck in our own binary-based conversations, internal conversations, which is not allowing us to really reach out to other people.
Brilliant.
Which is very, very
brilliant. Binary-based silos. It's a deadly combination. Binary thinking and the silo together can make all the smart human beings on the planet work like idiots.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Habib.
Yes, no, in the last event, Ferdi was referring that event,
Yeah.
You were talking about that parliament, you start parliament talking and all the things, started exchanging all the things, and we are not listening. Then I was speaking as one of the health minister, you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, and then suddenly all the people became silent. The silence was the first effect of that. You also mentioned that why they kept silent. And they started listening. So what I found was, now afterwards, I didn't know at that time, is they were missing the facts. The people who were there not knowing the real facts. The moment we started facts aware to them, they started listening. So one of the main things what you find is because facts are not known to the other months.
Dr. Habib, if I can interrupt.
Please.
Because they started listening, they could discover the facts.
Okay, that's also all right. Yes.
Otherwise, if they're not listening, you can tell them the Bhagavad Gita and Quran combined. It will not go through their.
What made them to listen?
No, that's the exercise that we did. We were doing the exercise where we asked them to practice listening. And as they practiced listening, as they began listening, they discovered there were so many facts.
Yeah, that means they came to know about the facts. The moment they come to know fact, then they start listening. That's what I understood. I don't know. So that's what is happening in the parliament also.
Yeah, it could. It could, but
it is I should win. They should be defeated is the attitude. That is not the attitude. Attitude should be, the facts should be known. Once the facts are known, then they are bound to know I am wrong. See?
Dr. Habib. Dr. Habib.
Yes.
I want you to try something on. What if there are no facts? In the world, there are no facts. There are only opinions.
Then they won't listen.
Not they, everyone. See, there are no facts. There are only interpretation. And each person has a different interpretation. Whatever you and I call facts, just because a bunch of people agree on the interpretation, we call that a fact.
No, if the facts are related to truth, then people admire it.
Well, that's a dangerous thing, to tie facts with truth.
No, the science goes like that. Mostly the science
because like who was it who sentenced Jesus to death? What is his name? Pontius Pilate. He asked the question, what is truth? But anyway, Dr. Habib, I want you to consider this, okay? You don't have to believe it. You don't have to think that's absolutely right or true. But what if most of what you call fact and I call fact is really an interpretation? And what the other people around me call facts are also interpretation. Then how do you get them to hear what you're saying just by getting them to see the facts? There are no facts.
The science goes to the facts. You see the result.
Just kind of just leave that alone because it hasn't produced any result. Actually, what makes a bigger difference is consensus. Consensus says we don't know what the absolute truth is, but can we kind of have a consensus that we can align around? And have the consensus be wide enough, big enough to have room for people to have differing opinions. See, you can have a consensus about God so that a Muslim can practice their religion, a Hindu can practice their religion, a Buddhist can practice their religion, a Christian can practice their religion. But basically, there is a certain agreed upon consensus. There are certain things that are agreed upon. Even though there'll be differences, there are also similarities in every religion. So we are not going after finding out what is the truth. We are looking at, can we actually become aware of other people's world and validate their world, have it be valid? Can we see from our perspective that that's a valid view? That may not be the view I would take. I don't want to live my life in that view, but if he wants to live or she wants to live a life in that view, good for them. Nothing wrong with it. See that? Sorry. Jayashree, what did you say? I think you said something, but never mind.
No, I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were talking about, Manoj, when I was away.
Just we had just started to share, and Shiva had shared, and then Dr. Habib had started to share, and he shared that from the exercise in the weekend, he was left with an experience of that when he started sharing facts, people started listening. And I was saying that maybe it was the reverse, that when people started listening, because that was the exercise, that's where they started discovering the facts in what you were speaking.
Yeah, or different perspective from their own.
Yeah, and then you brought in this whole thing about facts, and I mean, I think it's brilliant because awareness and facts are always are very likely to be in the opposite camps.
Yes.
because if you are stuck to if you have a fact, then you don't need to listen.
You don't need to be aware. You got the fact.
Yeah, it's like you got the only key that works, and then you don't have to listen. There's no space for listening, no need for listening, and everybody who agrees with your fact is the smart one, and everybody else is the wrong one, right? Or the unfortunate one, or whatever. So the facts, till the time we live in the world of facts actually create the binary.
Create problems. I'm looking at families. I'm looking at my relationship with my wife, okay? I can give her some really good facts and absolutely good, solid, logical reasons why she shouldn't do something. But it doesn't make any difference with her. And I thought there's something wrong with her, that it doesn't make any difference to her. Why can't she understand the logic of things? But the truth is, that's what we do. We believe that we've got the whole on the truth and reality. And when we say it, people should get it. But what if we were focused on something else other than the truth, other than the facts? What could we be focused on other than the truth or the facts? What could we look at?
It's about other people's world, what they're experiencing, what is there, looking at that.
Yeah, but we want to find something that...
workability, basically. Looking at workability.
You could look at workability. I thought of that myself, but I'm too used to it from a previous conversation. So I want to try something new. What if we looked at what is it and what they're saying that kind of rings a bell for me. Rather than what is the truth in what they're saying, or what is the truth in what I'm saying, what is it that resonates? What if we listen for what resonates? You understand when I say resonates?
Yeah, in sync. Something is in sync with.
Yeah, or it resonates, it kind of we go along with it, we like it, we think it's good. Not the whole thing, but there is something there that resonates. If we were listening for what resonates, we might go further ahead.
It would help us to create space for them.
Yes, yes.
For us also.
Yeah, and I suggest we start at home, because this is like
Space, collective space.
not just collective, personal. This is like a laboratory for us to experiment with this thing, because it's so much the ego versus eco is right there in the family, right? It's right there in our personal relationships that it allows us to see that. Okay, let's stop this conversation for a bit, because it's a very rich and very deep conversation. But I want to go further on ABCA. Okay. So I'm not saying this is the end of it, but I think it won't get us deeper into ABCA. Let's go into ABCA. So awareness based, right? And the awareness is the whole collective is aware. And based on that, some actions are taken. So awareness based, collective, and we are getting a clearer sense of collective, what a collective is, and action. Now, when we say, I know it happened for me, so I presume it's happening for you as well. When you say awareness-based collective action, we're thinking all of us are taking the same action, or all of us are taking action for the same result or the same output. So for example, if we want to transform, I'm thinking for myself, I want to transform, I want to create a new civilization for human beings. It's way bigger than new possibility, new civilization. You understand, civilization is how we talk, how we speak, how we move, how we do things. Civilization, right, for human beings. Then, I forgot what was the point I was wanting to make. If you want to
But
create,
you were looking at the collective, and then you came to.
Right. Now I know what I'm talking about. Right. So there are so many things that need to be addressed, right? If you want to transform civilization, create a new civilization, so many things. What are some other things, areas that need to be addressed? Education, right? Money.
Economics, yeah.
Economy.
Politics.
Environment, leadership.
Planet. The
planet.
relationship with planet, I mean.
Yeah. Environment, relationship with planet. Also, there are a whole lot of things, right?
Yeah.
And each one of you has a particular interest. You are more interested in one aspect of it. For example, Chaitanya, you are more interested in high impact. What impact is it called?
Yeah.
I'm interested in two things, Ferdi.
Purpose-driven.
One is working and creating purpose-driven organizations, and supporting purpose-driven entrepreneurs.
Okay, but you also in your financial business, you have impact.
Social impact. Social impact. That's right.
Yeah, social impact. What's the word that comes after? Investing, right?
It's called impact investing.
Impact investing. So let's say you're interested in that. You're also interested in those other things you said. You're interested in impact investing. So that if you actually took that on and you worked on it, see, you're taking it on because you're seeing something. You're seeing something about how the planet's operating, and you're seeing the negative impact of investments, and you're starting to see how you can alleviate that and create a new possibility there. Then somebody else may be interested in, like Anupama. Anupama is interested in natural health. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see you're a doctor, you're a surgeon, and obviously surgeon will take the scalpel and start doing surgery. But no, you are thinking you need to deal with health.
Preventive health and preventive medicine, yes.
You need to deal with health. And that's kind of what Dr. Habib is also interested in. So you will be working in the area of health, but you would be working in the area of preventive medicine and whatever that is, not just when somebody's sick, how do we get them back to health, but more like how do we help people to stay healthy. Then Jayashri is interested, I'm going to say this badly, Jayashri, so there must be something else you're more interested in, but lepers and how to help people with leprosy, right? And because that is what, and you can start to see that in the world, that is not okay. That's not doing a good thing. And Priyanka is looking at women and finance for women and how that can impact and make a change. So each one of us will have our own area of interest. So now let me take you back to what Sanjay said in the beginning of this session, which is a good example of collective action, awareness-based collective action, is that somebody dies and the whole community gathers together and they do different things. Somebody goes and fixes the funeral pyre, the priest, or something else or something. They take away the burden from the people who have lost the person. So everybody is viewing the same thing. This person has died, the family is in trouble, but each person is taking action which is distinctive and separate, and yet is coordinated with the actions that other people are taking. So the whole thing gets coordinated. It's like you've heard of swarming, SWARM, bees, they form swarms, insects form swarms, and they move as a swarm. Now, no one's directing the movement, yet there is coordination and there is working together. Basava showed us this thing from Tokyo Olympics where everybody was marching, but that was not an example of ABCA because there was one central person who designed the whole thing and everybody was trained and they practiced to do it. But what we're talking about is something else. What we're talking about is happening spontaneously, it's happening naturally, it's happening on its own, and that is why
without the need for the central coordination.
Without a need for central coordination. And that is why Otto calls it the new superpower. It's a new superpower. And the collected people around the world are looking at, for once, they're looking at the same thing. They're looking at the COVID. They're looking at the impact of COVID. They're looking at, and all the things that are not working on the planet have gotten sharper and more focused, and you start to see clearly. And so, and then people start to take actions. But if the actions are all focused around, they're all somehow or the other, nobody is directing it, but the community itself starts to direct it towards the transformation of itself. So that is why it is fundamental that society, the collective, see itself and see what doesn't work about itself, and then take on transforming it. And to transform it, each person will do their own thing, but it'll all be coordinated in one principle, so to speak. So I'm going to stop here for a while because I know that now I'm getting into muddy waters. So please tell me what you're getting out of what I'm saying.
One of
It's
the
about yeah.
Yeah, please continue. I can talk afterwards.
I was thinking, like, transforming the self such that all that we do and think is directed towards a collective welfare, a collective transformation. We are in sync with the collective transformation.
But is that what I'm saying? I'm asking you, what are you getting out of what I'm saying? See, that involves you listening to what I'm saying, because if you don't listen to what I'm saying, you won't get what I'm saying, right? Not what thoughts come for you without because you heard what I'm saying and you ran with an idea, but you heard it, you engaged with it, and that's why I'm pausing now. So to see what you get.
Can you please repeat that again, please, so that I can.
Difficult for me to repeat it, Shiva, because I myself don't remember what I said.
Okay. Let's discuss about that. Thank you.
So yes, Dr. Habib.
Many more people to share. Yeah.
Dr. Habib was going to share, right?
What I was getting is that you were referring to a funeral incident there, collective actions of all the people there. And at that time, how did the collective action come there?
Right.
One thing, there's no ego for them. Nothing happens. And secondly, they have got a sympathy over something has happened there.
Yes.
That has combined together to go the ego absence and also a sympathetic feeling for some of the event. That might have prompted to a collective action.
Yeah, most probably that did. But if you generalize it, it is everybody's seeing the same thing. That's where the sympathy comes from. Everybody is seeing this person has died, his family is in trouble, and we want to help. Great.
Sympathy factors, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't even worry about what the factor is, because I think even if we got to know what the factor is, we wouldn't get collective action. We'll get collective action, just like the bees and the birds which are flying together, they get their collective action. They don't get it through leaders saying, go here, go there, think this, think that. Somehow or the other, there is a mindfulness. There's an individual mindfulness. There's a mindfulness of the collective.
Or an accident takes place, somebody all come and help that.
Yeah, exactly. When an accident takes place, when there is a earthquake, some emergency, all those things happen. So what has happened right now at this moment in history is the COVID has happened. The pandemic has happened. And the pandemic is such that it has impacted the entire planet. And because it has impacted the entire planet and every area, therefore, it is possible to have a new civilization. If we don't try to get back to how it used to be, and we look at what are the opportunities that are available in this situation, in this circumstance today.
Yes.
I'll give you a very good example. If we all said, let's go back to the office, Delhi will miss a great opportunity. The citizens of Delhi will miss a great opportunity, because what the citizens of Delhi are doing, they're spending 5 hours a day to go to the office and come back, and spend 8 hours in the office if they spend 8 hours in the office. But if they didn't, and they said, now how can we make working a different way of working? How can we make it work from home or work for a few days from home, some days in the office, or work from sub offices? We start thinking about new possibilities. Now, if somebody was here from a big company in this group, they could start thinking. That could be their project. How do I bring ABCA to the Google company right now, so that there are so many thousands of people, they don't have to take the bus, they don't have to take the train, they don't spend so many hours in this, they don't do that. And there's a problem called IPCC, the planet, the overheating, that will help that as well. And there's a connection there. You start to see the connections all over the place. So awareness-based collective action, the first thing is awareness of the individual and an awareness of the collective, right? And the actions are based on the awareness and the awareness of the collective. And the actions are, because they're focused on everybody's seeing the same thing, the actions are addressing different aspects of the same thing, but will be in synergy and will be in sync and enable something new to show up in the world. I'm just looking at Chaitanya, and Chaitanya has had this vision of working with companies that make a difference on the planet, right? Or how did you say it, Chaitanya?
So what I said is I want to work with businesses and organizations and create purpose-driven organizations which can make a bigger impact on the world.
Right. You know, when you were speaking about it, I heard something else, by the way. I heard something way more powerful than what you said, or way more laser focused than what you said, which is you want organizations, you want to support organizations that have their attention on the world and making a difference in the world. And you want to train and develop the leaders of those organizations to fulfill that. Am I right?
Yeah, the bigger context is to basically organizations create products and services and offerings which will improve lives, which will solve meaningful problems which really matter in the world, and also create a sustainable future.
Great. So now that what you said is better than what you said earlier. Okay, so let's say that's the one. Now, can you see that if you look at ABCA and put your intention right in the middle of ABCA, can you see that actually would be something you could go and do? Like there's a funeral, they say, okay, I'm going to handle the Swamiji and the cremation place. Or in a Catholic funeral, I'm going to arrange for the coffin to be made and right? And somebody else arranges something else and someone else arranges something else. But you're not just arranging the coffin just by yourself. It's all in the light of the whole thing, the overall thing. So there's an overall something that's happening in the world, Chaitanya, that your project is playing its part in. And what it is playing its part in is fulfilling, creating a new future for human being, fulfilling a new future for the planet. Now, then you are actually synergistically connected to Priyanka. Do you know Priyanka? I think you may know.
No, I know Priyanka. Priyanka works in the area of empowering women to be financially
Yes,
free.
so you can see that there's a synergy, but you can leave women and financial stuff to Priyanka and you can focus on whatever you're focusing on, because you know somebody is handling the women part and the empowerment of women, and somebody else is handling, and Anupama and Dr. Habib are handling the health from before you get ill perspective, and someone else is handling, and you know, I'm really sad that a friend who is big for the environment, what's his name?
Pranay
is not here today. Right. And Pranay could get a lot out of this because Pranay has a tendency to work in a silo. In the silo of climate change or the silo of whatever his thing is. But if he could see that what he's doing is what needs to be done, and then someone else is doing what needs to be done somewhere else, and someone else is doing what needs to be done somewhere else, then they can be, it can flow into each other.
I think, Ferdi, what I'm sensing as you are sharing, in terms of different projects, very interesting projects, what I notice is the whole thing about fields of conversation, right? Which is the intention to have a dialogue. I think that itself was actually missing from my side to some extent. I should
Yes.
actually connect with all these people here and actually have conversations and have a dialogue.
Yeah, and not all, and not everyone, and not deeply, but certainly out of curiosity. Oh, I want to know. I want to know some more about what Priyanka is doing. I may not ever get engaged with it, but I'd like to know. And I'd like to know what Pranay is doing. And I'd like to know what someone else is doing. But if you start to get to see what everybody's doing, you will get worn out. You won't have any energy to do your own thing. Right? So the point I'm trying to make here is each one of you get clear about what you're doing, what your calling is, what your work is, and that you're engaged in. Some of you may not have any really big thing, but you're a teacher in a school. Good, you can bring that right there. You can call enormous contribution through just teaching. And you may be, I don't know. What do you do, Smita? Bojan?
Yeah, I'm a financial advisor, Ferdi.
Okay, good. So you've got, it's interesting. You have a lot of study to do, Smita. It's possible for you to do a lot of study because the biggest problem on the planet and the source of it all is the economy. It's the way economy is understood. And the whole business is based out of it. And so if you actually took that on from inside the economy rather than say, this is rubbish, I'm going to leave it and do something else, then you can make an enormous contribution. What are you selling? I mean, what is your work actually?
I sell life insurance, health insurance, and mutual fund investments.
Okay. And then the life insurance corporation invests the money it gets from everybody.
Yes.
What do they invest in? Do you know? Have you ever been interested in that?
I'm not interested.
So long as it's giving you the return that you're promising your clients, it's okay, right?
Yes, exactly.
So Chaitanya can tell you a bit about impact investing. Tell you about, see, most of the investments are in the places to give the highest return. And which is the place that gives the highest return? The one that has the least cost. And why does it have the least cost? Because externalities are not in it. The damage that they do by their operation to the world is not included in the cost of the product they're selling. And so they can make a ton of money.
Yes.
And therefore, people buy their shares. And then they get more money. And that's how it goes, right? And nowadays, there's investor, what do they call it?
Awareness.
Yeah, but also activists. Activists. There are activists amongst investors that are active about don't invest in these companies. Don't invest in oil and gas. Take your investment out of oil and gas. But then because you are somebody who says, I'm going to make you rich, and you say, take your money out of oil and gas, then the guys are not going to make much money. So the focus is only on making the money. And if your clients are not interested in the state of the planet and what is happening to the money that they are investing, then the situation is going to keep going the way it's going. I don't know whether you've heard of the donut economics.
No.
You've heard of donut economics? You have, Veena? Well, mostly.
Vivek shared once.
45 minutes, okay?
I got 5 minutes to end.
Yeah. I think you've not been seeing the messages.
Oh no, I never look at them. Sorry, Manoj.
I've been telling you since 20 minutes. Every 5.
Yeah, right. No,
Go ahead.
I like what's I will send you, Smita, a TED talk given by Kate Raworth, who's created this thing called donut economics. And one of the things about economics is that everybody is focused on what? What's the primary concern of economics and financial markets? What's the primary concern? What is everybody concerned about?
Making more money.
Making more money.
No, they're concerned with growth.
Growth
They're
means
concerned
money.
with growth. Because growth means money, they're concerned with growth, right? But anything that's alive cannot grow forever. There are trees that have lasted for at least 1,000 years, but they haven't kept growing the way they grew when they were small. At some point, the growth is very tiny. What the focus is more on is well-being, being strong, being well, being able to do things properly. But the focus has been in economics, has been in growth. Everything is all about growth. And that is what is killing the planet. So, but you need to come up with, so Priyanka has also got some of that problem too, because she's training her people to grow, but she needs to have an alternative to be successful. Growth equals success, but maybe success can be measured in some way other than growth. You know, so anyway, but that's not something, no solution. That won't be a solution that will happen only through the financial sector. Other people will have to give the ideas to it. And health, for example, you know, whatever Dr. Habib, anyway, now I got to end. Let me just say this now, between now and the next time, okay, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to you got this whole idea of awareness-based collective action, right? So each person's action will be different and project will be different, but it's all be inside this collective called, let's have a society, a planet, human beings and animals and the earth let's create a new civilization for everybody. And I'm going to take on education as part of that. And I'm going to take on women's development as part of that. And I'm going to take on companies having different kind of focus as part of that. And I'm going to take on how to use LIC. LIC is a powerful tool, I tell you. It's one of the hidden gems. And because it wasn't owned privately, it has still managed to have certain kind of, now they're going to sell it. And then of course, it'll all be the same old game. Anyway, so now will you please look at what is the area of interest for you? And then when you come the next time, we'll work on how you can empower yourself in that area and yet be in sync with everybody else. How about that? In sync with what, having a collective vision. That making sense?
Yes.
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 Okay. I hope this session was useful for you.
Yes.
100%. Fantastic.
Yeah. It was very useful for me, so I appreciate your listening and your engagement. Okay.
Thank you so much.